Welcome to Food Farm Talk, the COVID edition on CFRU in 93.3 FM in Guelph, Ontario, Canada, and on podcast on all the major platforms. My name is Paul Smith, and I'm one of the hosts of Food Farm Talk, and we are all hearing about the impacts of COVID-19 on farming and the food industry in media coverage everywhere, whether it's farm labor, meat processing plants closed, increased demand for products like flour and so on. And today we're talking about COVID and the local food in Guelph and Wellington County with Christina Mann. Christina Mann has been on the show before to talk about the program she works on. She's the Taste Real coordinator at the County of Wellington. Taste Real is an innovative economic development program, works with food and farming businesses in the county and connecting those to society and the economy at large. Normally, Christina would be getting ready for a spring rural romp and the local food fest that is usually held in June at Ignatius, but this is no normal year due to COVID. Christina knows the local food and farming scene as well as anyone, and she's hearing how businesses are doing and how they're coping and how they're adapting to the changing conditions, and she's going to share some of that with us today. So thanks for joining us on the show today, Christina.
Nice to be here.
We hear lots in the news about increased demand for local food due to all the closures and people being home and self-isolating. Can you tell us about what kind of increased demand you see for local Guelph and Wellington farm and food businesses?
Yeah, so certainly across the board in Ontario we see an increase, as you had mentioned, and the same applies to Guelph and Wellington. I think despite incredible efforts from the grocery community to keep staff and shoppers safe and shelves full for consumers, food shopping has suddenly become a dreaded task, where we're dealing with long lineups, empty shelves, anxiety about everyone sticking to social distancing measures, and of course the fear of getting sick. So I think that's where many people suddenly started looking at other options to purchase food, and local food became more attractive than possibly ever before. So it's just, if we think about local food, if you think about farm direct purchasing, it means less people are handling your food, or bulk options such as freezer meat boxes or larger quantities. They become much more attractive, since you have to you buy more, but you buy it once a time and not continuously having to go to the store. So it's also maybe possible that some people might have more time on their hands to research local food options as they are, home. They may have been laid off, or they work fewer hours. So we have seen an incredible demand, or an incredible increase of demand locally. We are in conversation with our partner businesses, with our farmers, and we've heard firsthand that some farms are in fact busier and get more orders and requests than ever before. We also know that some can't keep up with all the inquiries, and that they had to put processes in place to manage their inventory and capacity to process all of the orders. And on our side, we have a very comprehensive website with, obviously lots of local food contacts and information. And we receive an increasing inquiries as well. Many of them are about specific ingredients, or especially about the CSA programs. For anyone that doesn't know what CSA stands for, it stands for Community Shared, of Community Supported Agriculture, which means you purchase a share at the beginning of the season with a farm, and they then supply you with a specific set amount of vegetables. It's usually for produce, but could be applied to other products as well. But they supply you with fresh in-season produce once a week usually. during the season. So people may have heard of that, but never really looked into it. So we get a lot of inquiries about that. But in general, I would say there's an appetite for anything you can possibly buy farm direct here, from meats, the barbecue meat, to ice cream. And we've even received products that are not available locally yet because of the season, right? It's like, oh, do you know where I can find fresh zucchini in March? Well, obviously that's not possible yet, but people are really interested and really looking into local sources.
From a business point of view, anyway, the coping with it is another matter, right?
Yes.
And I guess that's sort of the other part of it is how are the businesses sort of coping with the demand, increased demand, but it's also how they protect themselves and their customers from potential infection, and also I guess how they navigate the purchasing process.
Yes, exactly. I think certainly with new safety measures, there is the need for new procedures, and another issue, as you mentioned, is the increase in demand for farm direct products, but also you need to implement new procedures for that, right, in order to be able to cope with that amount of orders coming in. So what I found incredible is to watch the speed at which farms and smaller food businesses are able to pivot and adapt. Everybody's different, certainly, but there have been changes implemented almost immediately. And even over the first 2 weeks or even the first month, when we look at like mid-March as a sort of start date, these processes have evolved. And so as businesses have been navigating their way through those changes. So now most products, or many products, can be ordered, pre-ordered. Phone is the obvious one. It's the one most people have access to. But we've also seen an increase in ordering platforms that are online. And now some businesses had that maybe as a component of their sales volume, was maybe one option you could buy from them, but a smaller part of their business, and they have really been able to take advantage of that system that was already in place. And some other ones have launched online ordering options. There's a few platforms out there that you can kind of sign up for. So that was certainly a win in terms of quickly adapting.
Yeah.
But even, like just seeing websites and Facebook pages, they're being updated at a rate like never before to include daily and weekly updates of products and safety information. And that's really great to see that communication aspect.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, how you get your product, generally it's contactless pickup is the norm, along with delivery options. And it could be, contactless pickup could mean anything from curbside pickup, porch pickup, pickup windows, or, drive up and pop the trunk and we'll load the order in the back of your car, and so on. So some farms take weekly orders and deliver directly to your house once a week, and I think that's a really incredible service and probably the most convenient way to purchase food while stuck at home, right?
Yeah.
It does look straightforward to maybe from a consumer perspective, but we have to really appreciate that implementing these changes or these revised procedures are an incredible amount, include an incredible amount of planning and logistics and very, very much hard work to be able to implement it. Yeah.
Stress on the business, having to rethink everything.
Yeah, and just also they they're dealing with an increased amount. Their historic sales volumes don't really help them to prepare for this increased amount, and now they have to implement social distancing measures at their place of work, which often means less staff, for more work, right? So it's really an incredible effort that we're seeing from our farm and food business from their side to feed us all while keeping everybody safe.
Yeah, and all of this not going to work has also increased sort of the demands for people who don't have a lot of income, and so there's sort of demand from the need for donations and so on, and so we're also hearing about how businesses are supporting both each other and also the community through donations and that sort of thing. Examples of how that's going on in the community?
Yeah, I mean, on the donation side, I know that a lot of farms and a lot of businesses have stepped up to make sure their leftover product is not going to waste. There's great initiatives taking place in many communities. In Guelph, there is an initiative partnering the Seed Community Food Program with a number of farmers, food distributors, and the University of Guelph that are cooking meals for people in need. There's certainly an increased amount of people that need to take advantage of food delivery, food banks, all that kind of stuff. But we can also see that businesses amongst themselves are really getting together and collaborating. There's an incredible camaraderie amongst many local food businesses. If you consider the closure of the Guelph Farmers Market in March has left many food vendors without a sales venue. And we've seen other retail businesses stepping up and allowing farmers to set up in their parking lot, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Polestar Hearth, a bakery in the north end of Guelph, they've invited an organic produce farm to come out and set up in their parking lot every once in a while. Or, a restaurant, Artisanal, downtown Guelph, is the pickup spot for another farm's weekly orders. So they're really working together and, making those connection works in very different ways during this disrupted time. And, so I think the other thing we've seen, which is really cool, are some of these food boxes come out. I don't know if you've heard about it, but Goodfellas Field to Fork Bakery in Rockwood, they're not operating their regular way. They have a very small retail space, but they're now delivering weekly quarantine kits, which includes an array of local products alongside with their own. So really interesting, neat initiative. Or the Guelph Box is another great example. Oh, yeah. They're collecting product from market vendors, and then delivery services such as Miss Grocery in Central Wellington. They're very hugely popular, and they work with farmers and grocers. So, there's certainly a strong sense of camaraderie and collaboration in the business community, and the sense that we're all in this together, and and that we're stronger together as well.
That's great. Now, you mentioned the Guelph Farmers Market, and lots of people in Guelph and surrounding area liked to go to the farmers market, and obviously it's closed, and most other ones are closed as well. And hopefully they're going to reopen. But how do you anticipate when that happens, what the farmers markets will be like? And maybe you can mention, I know you're aware of the 10 carton sort of virtual farmers market too. Maybe you can. Even though
markets are deemed an essential service, it will certainly be a very different farmers market season this year. as you know, our markets come in very many different shapes and sizes in Wellington County. The Guelph market being the biggest one. And if you've ever been there, I think it's clear that there's no way this market can function at a time of social distancing. So, they had to close it down early on. Now, in the Guelph market's scenario, Ten Carton has set up a vendor list for all the Guelph Farmers Market vendors, and you can kind of you have the opportunity to be connected with them directly if you want to purchase from them directly. That's one of the options. But I think we'll see. Local markets are looking at many options as how they can continue to support their vendors or be a hub for local food. You'll see the online component really growing and some markets embracing that. So the 10C example is a really great one. We're hoping that there will be still some kind of a vendor component to that coming out of the Guelph Farmers Market. But some might just be sort of connecting the vendors with the public to make arrangements. And others are looking to a revised pickup type model where you can go and pick up your pre-ordered food from either a location once a week. You may have to go to different stalls. They're the ones that have space to do that, so the outside markets, where you can go from stall to stall to pick up your pre-packed order, or it might be a more aggregated packing model. That remains to be seen still. We've heard of other markets in Ontario trying out that option, and it became clear that they certainly underestimated the logistics that come with an aggregated packing model. And most are run by volunteer groups, and it's certainly not a lot of work and not as easy as it and straightforward as it sounds. We also know that the public health regulations are still changing in regarding to who could potentially sell at the market or at any market. Right now, it's only food sales, and it doesn't even include any type of processed foods at this point. So farm direct ingredients only. We know that's still probably, hopefully changing a little bit so that people can self-resource and so on. But at this point, it's an ongoing conversation. So,
is that in response to COVID, or is that an ongoing? I know that was an issue a few years back.
It's a response to COVID.
Okay.
I mean, there are certainly regulations around farmers markets in terms of prepared and processed foods, but there is a certain percentage that you can have.
I see.
Farm direct, farm ingredients, and then some can be farm and processed and baking and all of that. So, we love our farmers markets. They are community hubs as much as they are venues to sell goods, right? So even if they do go ahead this year in some form, there's certainly much that's being lost from a community perspective.
We're also hearing a lot about threats to the food system and affecting supply. So whether it's at processing plants or livestock producers, beef and dairy and pork, having difficulties getting their product to market, and the reduced demand for some things. So difficulties in getting those foreign workers here in the spring to plant particularly on fruit and vegetable farms. Mm-hmm. So how are those kind of problems manifesting themselves in sort of our local area businesses?
Yeah, all of the things you've mentioned above are serious, issues for the food supply chain, and it's not just for large, complex supply chains that supply the grocery retailers to large retailers. They're also threatening our local food supply chain. We understand that, food processing plants are taking incredible measures to keep employees and the product safe. That means less people working, due to physical distancing, and it also means, therefore, less capacity and potentially some bottlenecks in terms of, processing meats and so on. So there is that fear, any processing plant closure will further reduce the capacity, and so safety is really key to keep our plants open and avoid disruption down the line. Now, our temporary farm workers are key to our agriculture sector. There's certainly areas that rely on temporary farm workers more than maybe a lot of Wellington does, but there still are local farmers that do rely on them. And we know there has been a decrease in workers arriving overall. And in addition, the 2-week mandatory quarantine further delays their start date into the season. And agricultural work is, has to be done very timely. You can just say, oh yeah, we'll start planting 2 weeks later. It doesn't work like that. No. So we've seen the ministry has launched an Africa-focused hiring campaign to assist with that shortfall. We've also heard of other redeployment initiatives, for example, in Grey County, where they have, a larger apple growing area. They are working with laid-off tourism workers to get them trained to prune apple trees because they don't have enough foreign workers coming in to do that work. And there's additional, it's really neat. It is really neat, and there's additional incentives, weekly incentives, monetary-wise, in addition to the essential worker benefit to assist with employment initiatives. But even then, those are, many of these workers return year over year. They're very, they're trained well. They work hard. It's very different if you have a team of 20 new crew members, and it's certainly not. It's not going to fill the gap as well. And even with all of the training and redeployment initiatives, they still predict a severe shortfall of workers. Yeah. So, if the appetite for local food has grown, but ramping up production in this unique situation is not necessarily an easy thing to do. It's a mismatch, but for now, what that means really is that farmers and food processors are putting up an incredible effort to cope with this situation and feed us all.
Now, you started off talking about some opportunities, increased demand, and that's been a bit of a theme through the conversation here. And perhaps the small silver lining in all of this is that more of us have time to cook and have taken an interest in it, and there's a surging interest in gardens and gardening. Now it's the time of the year, and also I know there's just been the regulations have been changed to allow community gardens recently. How do you think local businesses are being able to take advantage of these kinds of opportunities to help people pursue those kinds of interests?
Yeah, I think you're right. The awareness and interest in food and food production and food preparation really is certainly a positive outcome from all of this if you are looking for a silver lining. But some of the food businesses in the experience sector, for example, they're able to draw attention to their businesses. While they're not able to operate in person, this is a great time for marketing and, having people hear about your business. We have a local Italian cooking school. It's Netherlina's Kitchen. She hosts regular online classes right now. And they're very popular. We have also seen Royal City Nursery, a plant nursery. They do Facebook Live videos talking about gardening and planting and really sort of harvesting that interest that people are putting out there and are responding to it very effectively. And again, that might not be necessarily an immediate impact to their business. It might not, but it might just getting the word out there and promoting your business and staying really active and top of mind during this time when people have a lot of time on their hand right now, right?
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, there's an increased interest in home or community gardens as well. So we're hoping that a great side effect of this is the relationship to your food and also to food waste. You're less likely to throw out, the outside leaves of a head of lettuce if you grow it in your own garden, and not because it doesn't look, it looks any better than some of the outside leaves you get from a grocery store lettuce, but it just means more to you. You value it more.
Yeah.
So, so overall, one would hope that making food a little less available and convenient for people at some times will help people to appreciate it more.
Yeah.
And it, doesn't matter where it comes from. It comes from down the road, whether it's from your garden, from the grocery store, or from a local farm. So I think certainly a silver lining here.
Well, that's great, Christina. Thanks for coming on the show today and making people aware of the situation for local farm and food businesses, and also for ways that they can support those businesses so they can cope with the demand and continue to supply us with the things we need. So thanks very much.
Excellent. And at any point, if people are interested in finding Guelph-Wellington local farms, they can always check out tastereal.ca. We have updated our partner list with details on how you can purchase during COVID-19 and how you can get in touch with those locations.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Food Farm Talk this week. There are so many ways the pandemic continues to impact our lives. And so much is being said and written about the impact on the food value chain and on primary agriculture. So today's show gave you a little bit more information on the local food impacts here in Guelph and surrounding Wellington County. And we gave you some ways you could support local food and farming businesses through this difficult period. The show notes also has links that you can follow. The Arrow Food Institute has some good videos on this issue, and of course following people like Evan Fraser and Sylvana Charlebois and other professors involved in the food system can give you lots of information as well. So thanks again for listening, and thanks to Christina for participating today. So listen to Food Farm Talk again on CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph, Ontario, Canada, again next week. Thanks very much for listening. Stay safe.